Hi, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology, and today all things Cancer full moon 2023 and you. What this emotional healing cleansing lunation is spotlighting within your universe and how to lean into this full moon. When I tell you, a lot of people are going to want to be hitting the snooze button on the emotions that this lunation is going to be bringing to the surface. Every night this week, I want you to go outside and look at that moon getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And imagine your emotions waxing right along with that moon, okay? Grant the space, the structure for big emotions, big feels, big love. When I say how emotional, this lunation can be and how cleansing those emotions can be, we tend to think of it as sads and angries. Certainly create the space for those emotions to come up, but also hold the space for your joy, for your gratitude, for your deep appreciation, for your love. This speaks to big emotions, big feels, and big revelations with this lunation opposing Mercury. So within this video, we'll tune into the themes presented within this Cancer full moon, how it is that you can celebrate this Cancer full moon, how to find where it lands within your chart to begin to tune into the personal themes, and then we'll take it house by house to illuminate the messages that this Cancer full moon has for you. Before I dive in, I just want to quickly invite you to my free workshop called Align. It'll be held January 20th to January 21st. We'll break down the overall astrology of 2023 and then what's coming to the surface for you, for your sign, for your chart, where to bucket energy in order to yield maximum results, cosmically supported, so you can RSVP for that below. And if you don't mind, if you could just keep in the back of your head as you continue on through this video, if you gain any value, I would deeply appreciate any nudge that you can give via the buttons below. It's so deeply helpful for creating cosmic content. And without further ado, let's take it into our Cancer full moon, January 6, 2023. So the Cancer full moon exacts on Friday, January 6th at 3:08 p.m. PST at 16 degrees Cancer. And even though that's when the lunation exacts, that is not the neat and pretty container that just our emotions will be limited to. Like certainly as this full moon builds and as this full moon separates, so do our big emotions, big joys, big sads, big angers, big nostalgias. The moon is being granted the space to feel within its totality, the widest spectrum of our emotions, because the moon is in its domicile of Cancer. It's in its home turf. It's really being able to live its mooniest life, essentially. So we are being asked to feel into this lunar energy. The emotions that have been trying to get your attention are going to come to the surface within a big way within this lunation. And there is a nostalgic vibe about this full moon because it does oppose Mercury retrograde. And retrogrades do tend to be an energy that has to do with the past. So for a lot of people, especially with the energy in Capricorn right now, you may have been trying to achieve your way out of healing or out of feeling. You may be thinking, well, as soon as I'm married, then I won't feel this way. As soon as this happens, as soon as I hit this milestone, then I won't have to deal with this, or just running from the emotions that have been trying to get your attention. This is a lunation that really asks us to stop our tracks for a moment, to feel, to cry it out if you need to laugh it out with dear friends if you need to. And I know the Capricorn energy is going to make you feel like, well, I don't have time for that, Haley. I don't have time to feel. But this lunation is really asking you to allow all of these emotions to come to the surface because there's something so deeply healing about this lunation. If we grant ourselves the space and the grace to feel within its totality. This lunation trines Neptune in Pisces, a fellow water sign, right? And while this rampens up our intuition, this rampens up our sensitivity quite a bit, making us feel a little bit more affected by the world around us, a little bit more topsy-turvy as it relates to our own emotions. It also can be deeply rejuvenating, deeply cleansing and clearing. When we allow ourselves the space to feel within its totality, there can be something deeply renewing about that space. Like if you know the sensation after a good cry, that is the vibe about this lunation. Like if you think about it, when we cry, it's salty, right? Salt is a cleansing agent, right? So you don't necessarily have to cry, But just think about the sensation around feeling what's coming to the surface, to cleanse it, to get it out of your body. Because oftentimes, wherever you go, there you are. You cannot outrun your past. You cannot outrun your healing. You cannot outrun your feeling. And this lunation is asking you to feel what's coming to the surface, to heal, to cleanse, to integrate. And those emotions have a message for you. This lunation opposes Mercury. So this message might not come out in the most cut and dry way, but it's embedded within your emotions around, why does this jealousy keep coming up? Why am I so jealous of this person? What am I running from? What's the message here? What in that person's life is making me feel insecure about mine? Or maybe it's an energy around revisiting the past and realizing certain, cycles or themes that keep coming to the surface and realizing this cycle needs to stop. There is a message in those emotions that we've been running from or avoiding or trying to achieve our way out of feeling. And that's why the cosmos are softly drawing our awareness to it for us to feel and to get that message with it opposing Mercury retrograde. Mercury is a message bearer, okay? And whether that message comes via the emotions that come up, whether that message comes from reflecting on the past, revisiting relics from the past, being sentimental, there is a message to be found and felt as we allow ourselves the space to feel, even when it's uncomfortable. And for many people, it can be. This lunation does square off with Chiron, the comet of healing. So for some people, there can be a trigger to your insecurities, to the wounds of the past. And the cosmos isn't being mean by making you feel this stuff. It's trying to draw your awareness to an important message within it. So there might be a situation within your world that sort of repeats a common cycle within your world. And the cosmos is drawing this to your attention, not to be mean, not to be cruel, but to gently show you where it is that you need to heal, where it is that you need to honor your past in order to build your future. That is the axis of Capricorn and Cancer. Capricorn is around what is it that we are building within the external world, and this Cancer full moon really asks us, wait, before we build all of our wild and wonderful dreams, what are the roots of the person that we are, of the life that we've created? I always think of this quote whenever I think of the Cancer Capricorn axis. All ambition is to be happy at home. Like, we can want all of the fancy things, all of the Grammys, all of the success, and there's nothing wrong with that. The Capricorn energy definitely wants us to ascend to the peak of our ability. But if we cannot come back after a long day of achieving our goals and going after what it is that we want and sit with ourselves, that success will always feel hollow. If we cannot find that safety within our own soul, within our own home, within our own family, or the friends that feel like family, the community that feels like family, there will be something that feels hollow about that success, about that achievement. So with the energy of the Cancer full moon, it's asking to reflect on the roots that support the tree, right? Like the roots of the person that we've been prior, the lives we've lived prior, the family that we come from, the ancestry that we come from, the ancestry we come from, even our physical home. There can be some themes that come to the surface, these domestic arenas of our life. It's drawing our awareness, because for us to be able to achieve and succeed, we need the roots to be able to sustain ourselves, the self-care practices to sustain ourselves, the physical environment for you to rejuvenate, for you to refresh, right? The emotional container to feel what's coming to the surface rather than achieving your way out of it. And this lunation sextiles Uranus. And it's so fascinating because Cancer is about what makes us feel safe. And it, as a lunation, we can typically feel the strong call to withdraw. Like if we think about the Cancer symbol, it's described by the crab, the crustacean. And a crab, wherever it goes, it has its home there, right? Its exoskeleton. It's safe. And equally, Cancers are always looking for that safe home base, some element of safety and comfort and familiarity, which is beautiful. Like this is a very nostalgic, sentimental energy. It's beautiful to reflect on the environments that have made you feel safe, what it is that gives you a sense of comfort, your home base that supports all of the success that you are chasing within this world. That's lovely. But this lunation also asks us where it is that our comfort zone is no longer serving us any longer, and how it is that we can lean into the new, into the novel, into the innovative in order to heal. because it's a beautiful thing to have comfort and familiarity. There's nothing wrong with that. But also there can be certain comforts or certain norms that are no longer serving us, right? That exoskeleton on that crab, what if it gets too tight? I mean, I know that's not how crabs work, but just think about it. Like sometimes you outgrow your shell. And maybe the shell within your world is limiting thought patterns or unhealthy coping mechanisms, unhealthy nurturing mechanisms, maybe constantly running from what it is that you're feeling, constantly suppressing your emotions. That might be your norm. That might be your familiarity zone. That does not mean it is what is helpful for you. Because this lunation is timed with an opposition to Mercury, so the Mercury Cazimi happens the next day. So it does feel like there's this light bulb moment or this aha on how it is that we are nurturing ourselves in ways that really do take care of our soul, the care and keeping of your soul, yourself as a human being. So those practices that genuinely sustain you, mind, body, and soul, the parts of your home that genuinely make you feel safe and loved, but also this aha around this is how I typically cope and this is no longer working. Like the sextile Uranus is asking us, feel what comes to the surface and being open to new and novel ways to maybe shift our approach, right? Or to shift what it is that is bringing to the surface and finding a new solution to it. I just want you to be open to that during this lunation. And I also want to draw to your awareness towards, because Cancer has to do with home and family, you know, there can be some illuminations, and some of which can be challenging. Like they can be around your home, around your family, even around your ancestry and your lineage, right? And it's important, just because that has been a comfort zone, whether it's for you, a personal comfort zone, or maybe a comfort zone or a cycle within your family, within your lineage, within your ancestry, doesn't mean it needs to continue if it's no longer serving. So the Cancer full moon does ask us to reflect on the past, because if we don't understand the past, we are doomed to repeat it, right? And the sextile Uranus in Taurus kind of beckons us around, understand the past, yes, but don't get stuck there. Understand where you come from, yes, but don't feel like you have to be trapped by those toxic patterns for some individuals. Understand the past in order to maybe, for some of you, understand the past, where it is that you come from, in order to reinvigorate those traditions into your world. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It's just asking you to understand the past iterations of yourself, past lineage, your family, to really inform who it is that you want to be, maybe for some of you, who it is that you don't want to be, as well as ways that you are wanting to kind of shift or evolve. So how can you celebrate this Cancer full moon? As always, use discernment, do what feels best for you, but I want to share some tips based on the astrological components of this lunation. First being, this is a very watery full moon. So my biggest one, I already highlighted this, but seriously, cry it out. Cry because you've been laughing so hard. Cry because you're sad. Cry because of a puppy commercial. Release, okay? If you know that feeling after a good cry, when you just feel so light, like that is the vibe of the lunation. Oftentimes when we're trying not to cry, we're suppressing. It just delays those emotions. Like it's very, very challenging to just suppress it all and not cry. It just kind of builds within us. Versus if we just take the time to cry, we feel so renewed. So I'm not saying you have to force it, watch things intentionally to make yourself cry, but I am saying if you feel the call, allow yourself. The Capricorn placements will whisper to you that you are so busy and that you don't have time, that it's not productive to cry. But this lunation is telling you, like, if you don't feel them now, you're gonna feel these emotions later, compounded even more so. So really giving yourself the structure, Capricorn sun, in order to feel with the Cancer moon. So step one is cry it out, but I would also just encourage water within any of its forms. Like with this lunation trining Neptune, go to the ocean, go to a lake, take a salt bath, anything to be around that cleansing energy of water, okay? Allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to soak up what it is that you need from water. Like sometimes you go to the ocean and it gives you so much energy, or it gives you so much inspiration. Sometimes it gives you kind of a vessel for you to like dump your emotions into, and you leave feeling renewed. Oftentimes water knows exactly what it is that's needed, what it needs to give us, or what we need to release, and it absorbs it, right? Like if I were to go to the ocean, don't worry, I'm not gonna do this, and dump in Coca-Cola, it's not gonna say, no, don't give me that Coca-Cola. It's gonna absorb it, right, for me. And also when I go into the water, you know, the salt gets on my skin. I'm all salty after. It gives me what I need. and it also takes what it is that I might need to release. I do encourage you to spend time by a body of water. Again, don't pour Coca-Cola in there. That was just an example, in that sometimes water knows exactly what it needs to give us and what it needs to release, because this is a very intuitive psychic lunation. So I really want you to tune into your fullest woo-woo. I'm telling you, whether it's cards, journaling, tune in. Like, that's what's so beautiful about Cancer energy and lunar energy, because the moon in astrology governs emotions and also intuition, because oftentimes those are one and the same. This is why Cancers are so intuitive, because they are energetically and emotionally aware of their surroundings, right? They don't suppress it. Like, when we suppress our emotions, oftentimes we can suppress our instincts and our intuition right along with it. So I want you to grant yourself the space to feel what is coming to the surface, because your intuition could also be guiding you in particular directions. Cancer also has to do with home. So I would definitely say, don't go outside unless you're really feeling called to do so. Like, give yourself permission to anchor into what feels like safety and comfort to you, the people that feel like safety and comfort to you, the environment that feels like safety and comfort to you, being open to nourish yourself, right? In ways that truly sustain you. Like, that's what I meant when I was talking earlier about, your shell. Like, there are times that you need to withdraw into your shell, into your home, and take what it is that you need, right? Nurture yourself and eat and rest and shower and take what it is that you need to face the world. But there's also certain comfort zones within us that no longer serve us, right? Certain coping mechanisms that no longer serve us, right? Like, we can drink a bottle of wine every single night and call it self-care, and maybe for some it is every so often. But it's also addressing to the ways that we can deal with emotions that are maybe no longer healthy, that we're maybe outgrowing. Maybe it's, drinking a bottle of wine rather than dealing with them. Maybe it's suppressing them rather than dealing with them, being a workaholic rather than dealing with them, observing what your emotions are trying to tell you, and how to truly, soulfully care for yourself, nurture yourself. The moon is the planet, or the luminary rather, of self-soothing. So take care of yourself on Friday, but also be aware around strategies that might feel on the surface level like self-care. Like, yeah, I'm buying $3,000 of purses, self-care. It's like, is that really doing anything for your soul? Is that doing anything for your roots? Is that really genuinely caring and keeping for yourself? It's really a call to differentiate soulful self-care versus avoiding the deep-rooted issue, right? So all in all, as you celebrate this lunation, celebrate the love in your life. I keep saying it's going to be emotional, and it will be for a lot of people, but some of those emotions might be very heart-centered, loving ones for others. Feeling very, very grateful for the love that's in your life, for the home that you have, the family that you have, perhaps the profession that you have, like these overflowing emotions of joy, right? Because that's the thing. When we grant ourselves the space to feel our saddest sads, we also equally grant ourselves the space to feel the happiest happies. We grant ourselves the space to wax and wane energetically and emotionally right alongside of that moon. Because here's the thing. When we contemplate the moon, it's constantly changing, right? And there's contrast, there's new moons, there's full moons, it's waxing, it's waning. And when we have a moon in domicile, it's reminding us that our own emotions are like that as well. And we have to grant the space to know contrast. We need to know a new moon to deeply appreciate all of the light that's shown out during a full moon. We need to allow the ups and downs of what it is that we are feeling, the wax and wanes of our emotional landscape, in order to really be able to feel our happiest happies, sad sads. And it's not wrong. No emotions that come to the surface are wrong. Your anger is not wrong. Your nostalgia is not wrong. Your love is not wrong. It's just asking you to feel what's coming to the surface and feel it big, okay? So not everybody will be crying all day. Some people could just feel very happy, very joyful, very grateful, very joyous. Just allow yourself the space to really tune into the emotions that are coming to the surface, and also tune into what are they trying to show you. Okay, so to begin to tune into where this energy is really coming to the surface within our world, we'll take it house by house. Now, before we do, I want to share how it is that you can find where this full moon exacts within your chart, and thus the themes that are coming to the surface within your universe. So option one, go below into my description or into my pinned comment, and you will see I have designated the rising sign of every single house. So this will be true if you utilize whole sign house system, or if you're not sure, you're new to astrology, just go with that. If you are craving a Placidus viewpoint or a deeply specific viewpoint about where it is landing within your chart, I will give you an example of how it is that you can find where 16 degrees Cancer lands within your chart. So you'll want to go to astro.com. It's shown on the screen. I'll walk you through it. So after inputting birth information, you're going to look at your circle chart. If you see the symbols on the outer ring, those are all of the signs. I want you to find the Cancer symbol. It is shown on screen. It'll be a blue picture, and it kind of looks like the 69, okay? Let's be real. Okay, so find that, awesome. So we need to find 16 degrees. Now that's about halfway in the middle of that Cancer symbol, right? So in some charts, it'll be easy. Kind of find the halfway point and then follow the inner ring where the little numbers are, and that will be the house that you should listen to. Just find that house below, listen to that reading. Or you can also look at all of the houses that Cancer energy expands through and listen to all of the readings and tune into which feels the most relevant and resonant for you. If you want to get specific or you can't really tell, go by the little notch marks. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to count 3 notch marks. So every smaller notch mark is an increment of 5 and the bigger is an increment of 10. So it goes 5, 10, 15. This lunation lands at 16. So if you find that notch mark around that point, followed towards the middle, that'll be the house of where this full moon exactly is landed in. If you really can't tell, you're like, ooh, this could be my 5th house, this could be my 6th house. It's very hard to tell. In Astro, you can hit PDF additional tables and it'll let you know where that house begins. Just find the Cancer symbol and you'll see, oh, okay, that house begins at 17 degrees Cancer. If this full moon is at 16 degrees Cancer, and my 6th house starts at 17 degrees Cancer, 16 comes before 17, so this lunation must be in my 5th house. Okay, so that's how you can find where exactly it lands. So now that we have the house, let's break it down. Our house by house Cancer full moon forecast. So if the Cancer full moon lands within the 1st house, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Cancer ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. Okay, love, I'm gonna tell you right now, when you have a full moon within an angular house, that's this house, it tends to be a little bit more pronounced, a little more impactful, okay? Not every full moon knocks us off our feet, and thank goodness for this, but I will let you know, if this lands in the 1st house, this can be a more pivotal energy for you, okay? And it's really drawing awareness around yourself. How it is that you cope, and particularly around where it is that you feel safe within your connections and where it is that you fundamentally do not, because this lunation opposes Mercury and the Sun, of course, which is bringing in your 7th house, which is one-to-one connections. So you can feel this romantically around maybe you feeling so grateful for the people in your life, or also observing there are parts of myself and my emotions that feel too big for this person to hold, or I'm feeling like I'm wrong for the sensitivities that I have and the traumas that I have within the connection that I have. Like, I'm not saying everybody's going to break up during this influence, but there just could be a contrast around, do I feel safe within this person? Do my emotions feel safe? Am I able to really sink in my softness to the structure that this person adds? Or do I feel like I don't have that? Maybe for some of you, there can be an attunement to the sort of partner that you'd like to have within your world. Maybe for some of you, it's processing exes or past partners or ways that your emotions did not feel safe or did not feel held with them. And with the energy of Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, raising your standards within it. So I really want to say, with this lunation in the 1st house, grant yourself the space to feel fully. This can be timed with really important revelations as relates to relationships as well as yourself. I would deeply ask you, do you feel more or less of yourself when you're with the significant people within your life? Okay? Because Cancer energy does have to do with our lineage, with our roots. And truly, when I contemplate Cancer energy, it always makes me think of, like, you know, our younger self. So also tuning into, like, kind of the raw components of who it is that you are, how it is that you feel, and observing where it is that you feel like you've had to perform or act, because I love how raw Cancer energy can be, how it's an energy that allows itself to show up within all its iterations with all its emotions. And maybe for some of you, there can be a reflection around, wow, I used to be, you know, so excited and confident. And within this connection, I feel like this person is sort of taking my sparkle out. Like I don't feel like I'm able to shine fully. Like this is a lunation to celebrate yourself, okay? Some of you, this can be timed with just milestones that you're proud of. So you're in the mood to want to celebrate yourself. Maybe for some of you, there can be an illumination around, wow, I really need to start nurturing my body better. I need to start taking care of my physical health better. Like I was highlighting with Cancer, it does draw to the surface how it is that we nurture and nourish ourselves. And if it's truly helpful for us, right? Like it might feel nurturing to eat Cheetos every time you're upset, but is it truly what's best for you? Like the soulful self-care is illuminating in the sector of your physical body. So it could be illuminating, like maybe when we're upset, we go for a walk instead of like eating Cheetos, or we talking out with a friend rather than going to the club. Like an illumination around ways that we can be nurturing our body better can also be an illumination timed with this full moon. But truly, with the full moon in your first house, grant the space for the wide spectrum of emotions and revelations about yourself to come up, how it is that you've been visible, if it feels in alignment with yourself, if you feel like you are presenting yourself accurately to this world, if there's parts of yourself that you miss. So if this lunation falls within the second house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Gemini ascendant, not always though. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So my love, this is really bringing to the surface financial matters as well as self-worth. So when it comes to your finances, this lunation can be timed with some significant news or message around finances. Like you can definitely get a download around, I need to raise my prices. Like I am nurturing my business or my job so much, and what am I truly getting out of it? Do I feel valuable? Do I feel valued, right? There also could be certain illuminations or disputes or even just discussions as it relates to how you and your partner regulate your finances, as this also pulls in Sun and Mercury, which are most likely within your 8th house. 8th house governs money that comes to you from others. So there also could be certain conversations around inheritances, particularly from family members, because Cancer is highlighted, or any sort of alimony, child support, any sort of money that comes to you via others. There certainly can be a reflection on that. But I also want to tune into where it is that you feel safe trusting others and where it is that you don't. Because the thing is, when we go to people, whether it's with our emotional problems or problems in other realms of our life, we are essentially saying, I am worthy of having this container in order to process, in order to feel, and I'm worthy of receiving support. And I do feel with this lunation that some of you in Mercury retrograde could be drawing that to the surface around how safe or unsafe you feel, truly relying on people to help you. And if you feel worthy of that, okay, because this lunation is asking you to hold yourself, to care for yourself, to know that you are worthy of that you are a valuable human. And yes, this can show up as a significant purchase, definitely, as a raise. Like the financial dimensions of this house certainly can't be talked over. But I also want to highlight, it can be an illumination of your confidence. And if you've been soulfully carrying your confidence, of if you feel like you have something of value to share, and if you've been supporting that, like, are you genuinely caring for your soul in a way that makes you feel valued? And how can you shift that? What are your emotions trying to tell you about your self-worth, right? Like if you constantly go into situations and run into this particular pattern around wanting to hide and not being visible, where did you feel like it wasn't safe to be seen? Like this lunation, allow your emotions come to surface and know that you're worthy of feeling all of them, okay? With this lunation in your second house, you might buy something significant for yourself, particularly something that does feel nurturing and does feel supportive. You can find, for some, there can be an illumination around how it is that you react to money kind of emotionally. Like again, it's for drawing to the surface how it is that we're caring for ourselves. Like there is something to be said if you invest in, let's say, therapy, or you invest in like a reading, or if you invest in a book, like things that do genuinely care for yourself, versus just spending money because you want to feel something, right? Like this lunation could be drawn to your awareness, how it is that you've been reacting to your finances emotionally, or using buying stuff to kind of staunch the blood flow or staunch the wounds that are coming to the surface, and how it is that you can shift that to find a more nurturing, loving response, really allowing your emotions rather than just running from them with another, you know, Balenciaga bag or another Gucci bag. Like, I'm not hating on those bags. If you love them and you love the art, I'm not opposed to that. But I'm just saying, for some people, again, this won't be a message for everybody, but for some people, you can be, you know, buying things very emotionally to just feel something, right? Just kick in that serotonin, just wanting to buy something just to feel better for a moment, and finding that your emotions are still there. Like, that's a big message with this Cancer full moon. Like, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, those emotions are still there. So grant yourself the space to feel them before running to go buy something, right? To avoid them for just a moment more. If this Cancer full moon lands within the 3rd house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Taurus ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So love, this is essentially drawing a cosmic spotlight as it relates to your mind, your communication, and what it is that you learn of and learn about, practical knowledge. And with this energy, one theme that I want to draw to the surface is that some of you are being kind of guided to use words in order to shape and understand your emotional experience. So for some of you, you can be guided to start keeping a journal in order to kind of like logically processing what is it that you're feeling. For some, you could be guided to go to therapy, to talk it out with a friend. There can be an illumination around feeling what's coming to the surface and using words and logic in order to process and make sense of it, in order to make it linear, right? And with this lunation, there is a desire to kind of illuminate how communication is supporting yourself, your soul, your emotions, and how it is that it could be potentially even hurting it. And that feels like a dramatic word to use, so let me dive deeper. What I mean by this is essentially illuminating our sector of our mind. So certainly, some manifestations of this will be an illumination of, you know, a certain class that we've been taking reaches ahead. We can have a really soulful time with our siblings, right? Our extended family is a 3rd house theme. There could be certain neighbor themes that reach ahead, definitely. But I also want you to draw to the surface around your own mental processes, and particularly your mental processes around how it is that you're feeling. So if you are someone where it's like, I can't be emotional about this, there's too much to do, or you even just try to logicize everything that you're feeling until you talk yourself out of feeling emotional, like, that's not what I mean when I say journaling it out. Like, I'm not saying you have to journal out pro, con in order to try to logicize your way out of feeling. That's not it. I want you to use language and words in order to process and deeply like kind of soak in the intel that your emotions are trying to bring to the surface. And so I just want you to be conscious in that pursuit where it is that you talk yourself out of being sad, around you shouldn't feel sad, you have so much, people have it worse than you. Like, just because people have it worse than you doesn't mean that there's genuine things that need to be felt and held at this time. There can be an illumination around your emotional response around social media. So if you are a creator or anything of that nature, you know, feeling really good when your stats are really good, and feeling really bad when your stats are not that good. And 3rd house has to do with most digital careers, so sales, marketing, things of that nature. And Cancer tends to be energy that it is in flux. So for some of you, there can be awareness around, okay, my sales are constantly going up and down, my marketing is going up and down, my social media is going up and down. How can I ground myself amidst that, right? What are the self-care strategies that will help me as I, you know, still sell and still do marketing and still show up on social media, but I don't feel so personally affected up and down as those numbers go up and down. And there can be a certain nudge around mental processes that are not serving you, like certain ways that you talk to yourself that are cruel or mean or not soulfully supporting yourself. Like, is your mind your worst enemy? And what are the structures in place that will help you with that, right? Like I said, this lunation isn't about stewing in the pain. Like, I want you to feel what's coming to the surface, but it is around being open to some sort of shift, right? If possible. And so with this lunation, if you're noticing this really harsh self-talk, or like when something goes wrong, you are just your own worst enemy, what are the structures to get in place? What is a self-care strategy that you're going to reach for instead, so you don't go down this rabbit hole within your own mind? This lunation can be bringing this to the surface. Now, some other manifestations, it can be timed with a significant event as it relates to your siblings, some emotions as it relates to siblings or extended family, some emotions as it relates to neighbors, some emotions as it relates to communication or marketing or sales or anything of that nature. But really, the message here is around understanding that this world is constantly in flux, right? To live is to grieve. grieve prior versions of ourselves, prior iterations of our life, and to understand in these waxes and wanes, our mental processes need to be supportive. You know, our biggest cheerleader, whether it's our ups or downs. So just being open during this lunation to really process what's coming to the surface, as well as being open to strategies in order to be your own biggest hype one. So if this Cancer full moon lands within the 4th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be an Aries rising, not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So my lovely, lovely souls, I will let you know that when you have a full moon within an angular house, and 4th house is an angular house, it tends to be a little bit more pivotal or a little bit more intense for you. And so with this landing in the 4th house of home and family and roots, there is a big spotlight as it relates to the home by which you grew up, the roots by which your world is built upon, and your emotions that are really under the surface of what people see from you and of you. Because when we consider 4th house, it is the most hidden portion of the chart, right? It is the lowest part of the sky, of the horizon at the moment that we were born, is the 4th house. So with this full moon shining here, it's asking you to reflect on the roots that essentially contribute to the tree. Because think about it, when we see a tree, we see its glorious leaves and we see its trunk and we see what's visible, right? But to support that strength, there's a whole network of roots underneath that we don't see. It's private. I guess you could dig it up if you wanted to. But for this lunation, it's asking you to contemplate the roots of the tree of your life, truly, the self-care practices that support your growth. The family or the people in your life that feel like family that support your growth, the home that supports your growth. So certainly there can be emotional revelations as it relates to your family. There can be emotional revelations as it relates to your home. And again, I say emotional and we tend to think of sad or something bad's gonna happen. It can just be a really big moment of gratitude, of, you know, appreciation. Maybe safety wasn't something that was a given within your life, and you could have a moment with this full moon to really appreciate the safety that you found within your home, how safe you feel within your own world, right? Maybe you're not feeling necessarily safe. This can be an illumination around, where is my comfort zone? What sustains me as I build what it is that I want? Because the sun and Mercury are in your 10th house of career. So it's like, as I achieve, as I succeed, as I build, what sustains that growth, right? And so there can be illuminations around home. There can be illuminations around family. I know not everybody has a great relationship with their family, but I also, if they're not necessarily in your life, take a moment to contemplate certain generational cycles, ancestral cycles, patterns within your lineage, right? And, you know, like I've been saying with this lunation, if we don't understand a cycle, if we don't understand a pattern, we are doomed to repeat it. We need to understand the past in order to build the future. So for some people, you know, family wasn't exactly an example of who we wanted to be. It was like, I know what I don't want to be. I know the cycles I want to end and that I'm going to end. And this lunation can be drawing a spotlight upon that work around these generational cycles that we're breaking. For those of you who have a good relationship with family, this can be a time that you want to celebrate with them, spend time with them, anchor into the love that is within your world. So if the Cancer full moon lands within the 5th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Pisces ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. Okay, my love. So firstly, what I want to draw to the surface is that to be inspired is to feel, okay? And to feel the wide spectrum of emotion. So if you are someone who you have not been feeling inspired as of late, this lunation is allowing the space for you to get inspired again, to create. But that inspiration you're looking for is in those emotions that you've been avoiding, okay? Like, there is some truth to be said about the tortured artist, and I'm not saying you always need to be sad, but those unhappy emotions, those intense emotions, they could be such a brilliant breeding ground as it relates to really divinely inspired art, right? So I want you to grant the space to feel, and to feel called to alchemize via what's coming to the surface, to write a poem with it, to put together an outfit with it. Like, creativity shows up in many different ways. And with this being the house of self-expression, it's essentially spotlighting how much creativity we have within our world and allowing it to flow through you, right? Essentially spotlighting the creativity of our soul and allowing it to flow, right? Like, the moon is a very changeable influence. And with this full moon here, it's really asking, feel all of those emotions and create with them. They are fuel, they are paint. For some people, there can be an illumination around fertility, around children is a fifth house theme. For some of you, situationships, romance situations can be highlighted, whether that's someone that you're kind of dating or if you're in a committed partnership, kind of invigorating the fun within it. And if you're in the situation side of things, I would definitely say with the energy of Cancer, ask yourself, do you feel held by this person? Do you feel safe with this person? Do you feel nurtured with this person? I'm not saying everybody needs to go break up with their situationship, but I would say, do you feel like this connection gives you the structure for you to be able to feel, for you to be able to show up, whether you're waxing or waning, whether you're new or full moon? Like, the energy of the moon is quite changeable, okay? And that's kind of shining out as it relates to your romantic world. But I will say, while full moons in the fifth house are quite fun, it can be a celebration, a time we want to party and have fun and flirt and all of these things. And while that's all good and beautiful, also taking a moment to reflect on, do I feel like I'm running from my emotions via this party? Right? Do I feel like I'm suppressing what it is that I'm feeling with another fling or with flirting with this person? Like, definitely feel what's coming to the surface. Like, go to the party and celebrate life to enhance your experience, not to suppress it. Being very conscious around where it is that you can be kind of suppressing your emotions via stimuli and via fun. Like, this lunation is bringing to the surface our soulful self-care. So for some of you can be finding, like, you know, it actually takes care of myself as a soul so much better when I stay in and paint rather than when I go out on the town, right? And allowing yourself that space to nurture yourself in a genuinely renewing way. Now, I love going out. I love dancing. I'm not saying it's bad, okay? For some of you, that might be just the medicine. But I want you to really reflect and hone in. Am I enhancing my experience and processing these emotions, or am I just running from them? Am I suppressing them? And choose to really redefine fun in a way that cares for your soul, cares for your spirit, genuinely nurtures yourself as a human being. And also doing things that celebrate your own inner child, doing things that are just fun, doing things that are fun just for the sake and for the intention of feeding your soul. No, it is not productive to roller skate. No, it's not productive to finger paint. But your inner child is asking you for it. And this lunation is a beautiful spotlight on that inner child who still lives within you, right? The Capricorn placements will be barking at you around, you've got to build the future. There's so much to do. You don't have time to play. But this Cancer full moon is asking you, play, take care of yourself, nurture yourself. All that success, everything that you're searching for is empty if you don't take time to enjoy it. So this lunation, reinvigorate your lust for life. And you're not your lust for life around just accepting happies, but accepting the sads, because that just deepens the happies, right? It's the widest spectrum of emotions. That is the fullness of life. If the Cancer full moon lands within the 6th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be an Aquarius ascendant. Not always though, so make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So this full moon is casting a gigantic spotlight on your health, amongst other themes. But firstly, I feel called to talk about health and the health practices and whether they are truly nurturing you or not, okay? And this can go to either extreme, right? Just eating 12 almonds a day and working out 3 hours is not genuinely nurturing yourself for your highest and best good, okay? So that'll be a message for some people around, okay, you might be hitting the numbers that you want to hit, because again, with Capricorn energy, it's like more, better, 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 right? You might be hitting the numbers you want to hit, but is it genuinely caring for yourself? Are you trying to avoid your problems via this pursuit of perfection or pursuit of the ideal? And on the other side of things, if you feel like you have not been treating your body right, this is an illumination around, I deserve to move my body every day. I deserve veggies. I deserve fresh orange juice or whatever. There is an illumination on our diet and our exercise, and if it's truly soulfully supporting us, okay? And I also want to bring to the surface that this is the sector as it relates to day-to-day, like our service, like work. And so for some of you, there can be an illumination around work. So you might hear back from a certain, position that you've been striving for. There might be busyness as it relates to work. You might feel like you have a ton on your plate, a lot going on, and your Mercury retrograde's within your 12th house, so you can find that it's a little bit more challenging to express yourself. So certainly double check all communications, reread your texts, reread your emails, ensure that you're not, in a rush, that you're missing over important details. Like the full moon could be drawing your awareness to the responsibilities and the duties on your plate, as well as to your relationships with your coworkers. If you feel safe if you feel held with them. I mean, I know we don't typically find that sensation of family within our work necessarily, but with this lunation, it can be drawing awareness if you are close with your coworkers, around the work family that you have built, or around the people at work that you are close to. There can be an illumination there, or perhaps some being like, I don't trust these people. I feel like these people are going to backstab me at any given moment. Like, it draws us to the awareness around how safe or unsafe we feel when it comes to our work environment, right? As well as, you know, there can be emotional reveals around work. There can be distinct contrasts. Like, some can be feeling really grateful around, I can't believe I get to help people in this way and do what it is that I do. And some people can be feeling this energy around, I am not happy here. This is draining. This is exhausting me. This is not caring for myself. I get home and I'm still stressed, right? Like, this is carrying over. This isn't good for me. And it's not the time I would say, quit your job. You know, it depends on a lot of factors within your chart, and we have some retrograde planets. But note this, right? With the Mercury involved, there's a message coming out where it's like, this cycle keeps getting repeated. I don't think my coworkers are going to change. I don't think my work is going to change. So maybe I need to change. Just because this work might have been a comfort zone doesn't mean this is the shell or the exoskeleton that I'm meant to always stay in, right? Cancer's the crab, which is why I keep referencing the shell or exoskeleton. Like, I want you to, yes, for some, there could be this really heart-centered feeling around, I am helping people, I am making a difference, I feel so good about this. And someone could be feeling really sad. Like, my job is actually bringing a lot of negative energy into my life. I'm creating a shift and allowing the wide range of emotions on either ways. For some of you, maybe it's not a job shift, but it's just a hard day. A lot of emotions are coming up at work. Allow them. This won't be a message for everybody, but I will say, if you have any pets, this will be a day that you'll feel very connected to them. You'll want to snuggle with them and love on them. If you've been waiting for any like veterinary results or something, that can be brought to the surface with this lunation, as well as just an awareness around whether your daily routine really nurtures you and cares for you. Like, you might love waking up and scrolling on your phone for however many hours, but is it generally nurturing yourself? Is it generally supporting yourself? Being open to those shifts around how it is that you can nurture yourself via your daily routine in a more nourishing way. So if you have this Cancer full moon landing within the 7th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Capricorn rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer within your chart. So I'll be forthright. First and foremost, when you have a full moon, especially a very emotional full moon in an angular house, it does tend to be a little bit more intense, okay? And 7th house is an angular house. For you, there's emotional reveals around your connections and your relationships, okay? And I know a lot of times our mind goes to the worst case scenario, so I just want to say, it's not to say that everybody's going to break up, okay? That's not what I'm saying. For some people, this could be a very happy time for a date night, for really celebrating the love in your life, for really being grateful for the love in your life, for feeling so nurtured and so held for the people in your life. But that won't be the case for everybody, okay? So I want to tune in on that, because for some, there's this awareness around, wow, I'm actually not feeling held within my connections. I am not feeling held within my relationships. I feel like I have to mold and adjust myself in order to fit in towards these relationships. I don't feel safe to be myself to my roots, right? And for some people, because this lunation is opposing Mercury retrograde, there can be a reflection on the past. And so you can be contemplating, again, I'm not saying an ex is coming back or anything, but you can be contemplating your past relationships and really with the square to Chiron, what it made you feel like about your worth, right? How it emotionally maybe even scarred you. Like, this is a cleansing full moon. If those memories that come to the surface via dreams or just via your mental processes, it's not the universe saying, get back with this person. It's asking you, feel what's coming to the surface, remember, and let these emotions and these memories flood in so you have the space to cleanse, to renew yourself, to rejuvenate your past, and make the way for a more promising future. So my biggest advice as it relates to this lunation is definitely reminisce, reflect. Some of it can be painful around, I cannot believe I allow people to treat me like that, or I cannot believe things went like that. Allow the wide spectrum of emotions, but ensure you're also carving time to appreciate the people within your life. Hone in on the people that you feel like you can be fully yourself around, the people who nurture you, the people who take care of you, right? Honoring that. And again, a lot of what I've been highlighting does sound very romantic, but this is an illumination of any sort of one-to-one within your world. There can be a significant discussion within your business partnerships. There can be a significant contract that comes your way. a significant event as it relates to a client of yours, any sort of one-to-one, any self versus other. Like that's the axis that's being highlighted. The first house of self, the seventh house of other. So really celebrating the relationships, the connections, the partnerships within your world that value you, right? That you feel safe to be yourself, that you feel held and nurtured by, while also observing where it is that you do not find that feeling of home and safety, right? Within other people. Like that is really what we're looking for when we connect. We're really looking for home in a human being. If this full moon lands within the 8th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Sagittarius rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So this lunation is asking you how comfortable you feel surrendering into change, transformation, and other people, okay? There is a feeling with this full moon around if I don't do this for myself, and if I don't get what it is that I want, no one will. It's not safe to trust, okay? I need to get what it is that I want within my world or else it will not happen for me. And this lunation is gently bringing to your awareness around that it is safe to trust and be held. And this can be via your connections, like 8th house has to do with your partner's income, as well as other streams of support that are offered to you, whether it's, inheritances, child support, as well as just moral, emotional support that is given to you, right? But also the support from the universe around being able to relax into the ups and downs. Like when we consider this moony-like energy, it's constantly in flux, it's constantly fluctuating. So part of this full moon is asking you, how is it that you can trust in the own emotional ups and downs, in the topsy-turvy roller coaster of your own emotions, of your own journey? How can you trust in a bigger plan? And how can you relax into the bigger plan, understanding that you don't need to have it all figured out? Like on a road trip, sometimes you can only see as far as your headlights, but you can make the entire journey that way, right? You can get to your destination only seeing that far. You don't need to have it all figured out. And it's also kind of asking, what connections do you feel safe within and which do you not feel safe? And also 8th house does have to do with sort of our shadow self, shadow work. So I also want to bring to the surface with the energy of Cancer, it's asking you to really feel into that shadow work that's necessary, feel into those scary emotions that you suppress, that you push off, that you don't want to deal with, right? That you're like, I don't want to be angry. I'm not an angry person. Allow yourself to know that those emotions are valid. Even if they feel scary and uncomfortable and you don't feel like you have the space to feel them, allow them. Face your shadow self. Like there can be parts of you that are bitter or resentful or angry or deeply furious. Maybe there's parts of you that has rage. Those emotions get dangerous when you neglect them, when you push them down, when you push them into the shadow self. So this is an illumination around really allowing yourself to feel, really allowing yourself to grieve as well, whether it's dealing with physical loss within your world, maybe even just grieving prior versions of yourself, right? But I really want you to feel all of the deep feels that this full moon is drawing to the surface, and really know that you are held. If you don't feel held by the connections within your world, you are held by the universe. Trust that, believe that. If this full moon lands within the 9th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Scorpio rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So this is essentially a lunation that examines your belief systems and if they are soulfully supporting you and if they are not, okay? For some of you with this lunation, it's asking you to really have those practices, those spiritual beliefs that do nurture yourself as a being. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be religion. Maybe it's some sort of spirituality. Maybe it's even connection to nature. Maybe even it's just the spiritual feeling that you feel when you're traveling. Something that reminds you that there is something bigger can be helpful. Just supporting yourself as a soul, right? Like maybe you're someone where you're like, I don't really know what happens after we are no longer alive. I don't really know if there is a God, but contemplating, does it make me feel more held and more supported to believe in something? Does it? And allowing yourself to anchor into it if it does, okay? Maybe it's astrology. Attuning to these bigger cycles allows you to find some groundedness within the emotional fluctuations and the up and down fluctuations within your world. Maybe it's anchoring into a spiritual practice from the past, with it opposing Mercury retrograde. Maybe it's like, I grew up you know, studying this religion and not everything aligned with me, but I do miss that sensation of going to church. That was a helpful grounding ritual for me, right? Maybe for some of you, there's an illumination around craving more spirituality and more meaning within our physical home, right? This isn't a home house. Home house. It's not a house that has to do with home, but Cancer as an archetype does. So maybe for some of you, it's asking, do you have an altar? Do you have a space within your home that you can go and meditate and reflect? Are these practices grounded for you? And also for some of you, you may be planning a trip. There can be certain news that comes up around a trip around this time, or just illumination around, I want to do that. That's so important for my own just emotional happiness and fulfillment, that I explore, that I find out what's out there. That's super helpful to tune into at this time. If the Cancer full moon lands within the 10th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Libra rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading where you have 16 degrees Cancer. My love, there can be soulful revelations about work. Some people are going to feel this around feeling overwhelmed with gratitude when it comes to the business that you've built, the job that you work, appreciation for your authority figures, for your bosses, for maybe even your clientele, for your branding, anything that people see of you. There can be an illumination of how much soul and how much heart you put into what it is that you do. Things can feel very busy around this time. Now keep in mind, not everybody will feel these very positive emotions. Some can be feeling some really intense ones, perhaps some sadness around wishing things had been different as it relates to career. Maybe for some of you, it'll be a very emotionally draining day around the full moon, around being like, I pour so much into this and I don't feel like I'm getting anything back. Maybe there can be emotional processing within your connection to your boss or authority figure, being like, why do they treat me like this? Or furthermore, why are my emotions so deeply affected by this person, right? There is a huge cosmic spotlight on work, on career, and on our emotions that we infuse into it. Like, it's fascinating for you having at least some of Cancer within your 10th house. It's the house of home and emotions in the most public sector. So it's almost like some people like literally create this feeling of safety or emotional groundedness within their public realm. But other people, like, part of what can emotionally nurture themselves is being like a healer or showing up for people in a very heart-centered way within work. So if you don't feel that, it can be just a gentle illumination around what are the shifts and changes or the pathway that would help us get to where it is that we want to go. Like with Mercury retrograde happening right now, it is important that we are open to little pivots, and particularly with it opposing the Cancer full moon, pivots that will allow us to get to where it is that would lead to not only professional fulfillment, but intrinsic happiness and fulfillment as well. Like, your chart is set up to find both, okay? So I do want you to be open to revelations around, this is not the industry for me. I am way too much of an empath to be here, or this is not the industry. Like, I can't stand being around all these numbers. Like, I'm not saying quit your job and all of these things, but Mercury retrograde is asking us, you know, with the energy in Capricorn, it's asking, before we put all our energy into building and achieving, let's ensure we're going in the right direction, where we both find success to an outer extent, as well as success in terms of our inner fulfillment and happiness and joy. In a practical sense, this can be a very busy day at work. If you've been applying to jobs, there can be news around this time. This can be news around a promotion or just revelations around the nurturing kind of heartfelt energy that you are feeling at work, or perhaps that you are noticing is absent, in ways that you can either encourage it. So maybe it's bringing more of a family member, bringing more of that heart-centered energy into your work, or maybe it's being open to shifts. But I would also encourage you with this Cancer lunation, if you've been overworking yourself, if you've been in burnout, it's asking for this success, for this achievement to be sustainable, it needs to be coupled with deep, soulful self-care. So what are the shifts? What are the structures that would allow me to feel nurtured and held as I ascend to the peak of my ability? So my love, if this Cancer full moon lands within the 11th house, you may potentially be a Virgo rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So there is a cosmic spotlight upon communities and friendships and how held or unheld, how nurtured or unnurtured you feel within them, okay? For some of you, this would be a really aligned time to spend time with the friends who feel like family, the groups and communities that you go into and you just feel safe. You just feel connected. You just feel nurtured. You just feel held, right? And if you don't have that, being open to find those communities, like being open to go to that moon circle, or to be open to join that online community, make an online friend. Like, this is a spotlight on the friendships within our world. For some, there can be an illumination perhaps around friendship wounds from the past and how that has maybe blocked you from reaching out to new friendships. Like, even just remembering how vicious the girls were to you in middle school and like just feeling kind of closed up. Like, it's important with the energy in Cancer. I keep referencing this because Cancer is the crab. Like, it's important to observe. Yes, it's lovely to have that comfort zone of where it is that we feel safe and held. But the energy of Cancer can also withdraw into its shell. It can feel scared of life or be security averse around, I hurt once, so I don't want to put myself out there to make new friends just in case I get hurt again, right? So for some of you, there might be an awareness around really processing the wounds and the trauma of past friendships for the purpose of healing, for the purpose of maybe even reaffirming around, I deserve to feel safe within friendships. I am open to heart-centered, loyal connections that truly make me feel home and grounded. And there also could be just an illumination around our goals. This is going to be a strange, it's going to be a strange little juxtaposition, but also attuning to the goals that we had for our future from the past. So attuning to younger versions of yourself, because you do have Mercury and the Sun most likely within your fifth house. Tuning to, I used to want to be a writer. What happened to that? What parts of me did I forget about that I feel like I want to reconnect to? Or I so wanted to be someone who learned to dance. Why did I never take time for that? And a time to sort of realign your hopes and dreams in order to ensure that they are truly soulful, they are truly nourishing for your inner being. If this Cancer full moon lands within the 12th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Leo rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Cancer. So this is essentially a lunation taking place within a very murky house, my love, okay? And a lot of these illuminations are powerful, but they're easily ignored. So I do want to recommend that during this lunation, take some time to be in solitude, take some time to be quiet. And I know that's going to feel impossible because y'all have Sun and Mercury in your 6th house. So I know things feel very, very busy. So you might be like, Haley, Comet, I don't have a moment to sit, but I want you to, because you can find that your intuition is on point during this time. There could be all sorts of illuminations that come up from your guides, from your spiritual support team. Like 12th house is the support that we receive from the other side. So when I say, whether it's via your dreams, via your intuition, or via your spiritual support team, there's some messages coming out for you to really attune to. So I want you to carve the space and solitude to tune in. For some of you, you've been overworking and overdoing to try to distract yourself from what it is that you've been feeling. And this lunation is drawing your awareness that you cannot run from it. Wherever you go, there you are. Whatever you achieve, there your emotions are. Carve some space to feel them. You cannot numb it and suppress it, no matter how busy your schedule is and how much of a workaholic you are, okay? Those emotions are still going to be there. So this lunation is asking you to feel them. Some of you feel pretty lonely, or you have been feeling kind of lonely. Maybe it's because your schedule has been so busy. With Mercury retrograde, there could have been like a lot of issues at work or something that you've been dealing with within the 6th house, so it just couldn't be taking more of your energy. But with this lunation landing in the 12th house, some of you have been feeling kind of alone. And this sort of a spotlight around how safe or unsafe you feel being alone, right? Like isolation, solitude, it means the same thing, but there's a different connotation. So maybe for some of you have been feeling like it's not safe for you to open up with your emotions to other people. So it's almost like silent suffering, like this desire to want to withdraw and not let people in. Maybe some of you have been avoiding solitude because you know once you're alone, once it's quiet, you have to face all of this stuff. So you've been trying to be busy, always be around people, right? I want you to carve time for soulful solitude, space to heal, space to feel what it is that you've been running from, maybe even bad habits that you have, for the purpose of nurturing yourself. Like I'm telling you, 12th house is the house of self-undoing. So for some of you, there's a gigantic spotlight around certain rituals and habits that might to some level feel like they are nurturing, but are really causing more harm than good. Like asking yourself, is what it is that I'm turning to enhancing my experience, or is it suppressing it, right? Is it granting me the structure in order to feel and to heal? Again, feeling happy, happy, sad, sad. It's not saying everybody's gonna be crying all day. Some people may be. Is the techniques and the habits enhancing these emotions that are coming to the surface or suppressing them altogether. Because this is the house that essentially it's illuminating what it is that we run from. So there can be energy around, I can't run from this anymore. I need to face this head on. So my love, that is our Cancer full moon. I'm so grateful for you for being here. I do apologize that this video is up a little bit later. My travel plans were deeply affected, very Mercury retrograde style, by all the travel delays as of late. So I got back about like a week after when I was supposed to get back. So it did impact my filming schedule, but I'm so grateful that you tuned in anyway, even though it's a little close to the lunation. This was such a powerful one. I felt deeply called to share about it. So my loves, my Instagram handle is @HaleyComet_Astrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay